Well, hello and welcome to the Web Monkey Show. My name is Alex, and today I have a very special tutorial for you. It's actually a mini course designed to teach you some real WordPress development skills. So if you're interested in learning how to become a WordPress developer, this course is going to be perfect for you, because coming up, you're going to learn exactly how WordPress works behind the scenes. You will learn how to build your own custom page templates, write your own custom WordPress functions, work with WordPress template tags, create custom image sizes, and so much more. So you're going to learn some really cool WordPress development skills. Now, also as a full disclosure, this course used to be available on Udemy, the world's largest online learning platform, but I recently took it down from Udemy and decided to make it free for you guys here on YouTube. So if you do see the Udemy logo at the bottom right hand corner of the videos, well, now you know why it's there. But I really hope you do find this tutorial useful, so let's get started. Alrighty, so the very first thing we're going to do right now would be to generate a custom theme from this website known as the Underscores website. What exactly is this Underscores? Well, it says, "Hi, I am a starter theme called _s or underscores if you like. I am a theme meant for hacking, so don't use me as a parent theme. Instead, try turning me into the next most awesome WordPress theme out there. That's what I'm here for." So Underscores is what we refer to as a starter theme. It's a theme that has only the necessary amount of code needed for WordPress to work. It has just the bare bones amount of code out there. There are no fancy functions or fancy scripts that do additional things. All you get from Underscores is the basic package for a WordPress theme. So it's a very good way to start off developing any WordPress theme. You simply come in here, generate the starter theme, and then you can begin to enhance and develop that theme into becoming the very next best WordPress theme out there. So what we're going to do right now is to generate our own custom theme. Let's come in here right now where we have the theme name. And for me, I am going to name mine Starter. Okay, feel free to use a different name. You don't have to use Starter. You can use any kind of name that you want. So let's go ahead and generate the theme. And you can see right now, this is the zip file right there. So I'm going to jump over to my website, starter.tascopedia.com. This is the site I'm going to be working with for quite some time. So let's go ahead and install the theme. Let's go to Appearance, Themes, Add New, Upload. And from here, I'm just going to click and drag starter.zip right in here. And let's install the theme. Let's activate the theme. And there you go. We have successfully created our custom theme. And if you go to your site right now, you can see that there is no formatting. Everything looks out of place. And this is how it is supposed to be. We are supposed to develop this theme into becoming the next best theme out there. So we'll have to do lots of CSS, write lots of WordPress functions and development and so on and so forth. But this is a good start. We have gotten our custom theme generated. We've installed it. Now let's move on to explaining and taking a look at how WordPress template files actually work. Okay, so the very next thing we have to do right now would be to connect to our site via FTP. If you don't know how to do so, I do have tutorials that will teach you and show you how to do so. Check the links in the very next video. In the very next lecture, you will find the links to where I will show you how to connect to your site via FTP, how to create an FTP account, and even how to use Notepad++, which is what I'm actually using to connect to my site. So feel free to pause this video, go and watch those ones, and then come back. If you do know how to connect to your site via FTP, then let's move on. Right now, I am on my starter site, and the folder I am interested in right here is the WP content folder. This is the folder that typically contains the files for your plugins and themes and media associated with your WordPress website. So let's double click inside, and now you can see we have plugins, themes, upgrade. We are interested in themes, right? So let's open up the themes folder, and now you can see we have our starter theme, 2015, 2017, and 2016 folders. Whenever you install a new theme, you will find the themes folder in here as well. But right now we are interested in the starter theme folder. So let's double click inside. And now in here, we have all the files that make up our starter theme. But I want you to pay very close attention to these files right here that end in .php. We have 404.php, we have archive.php, comments.php, footer.php, and so on and so forth. All these are what we refer to as template files. So what exactly is a template file? Well, a template file is one that tells WordPress what kind of content to display and how to display that content, and even where to display that content. So template files are basically like a guide for WordPress. They tell WordPress that, hey, display posts on this page, display the title, display the featured image just below the title, display the date this post was published, things like that. WordPress uses these template files to display content, and each one of these template files controls a specific part of your website. As an example, 404.php right here, if I double click on 404.php, this right here is the template for displaying 404 pages that are not found. This is the template file right here that WordPress would use to display content for the 404 page, a page that's not found. Likewise, we have something here called what? We have page.php. This is the template for displaying all pages. So whenever you create a new page on WordPress, the starter theme is going to use this template right here to display contents for that page. Okay, and so on and so forth. We have single.php, we have sidebar.php. All these template files control specific parts of any WordPress website. So join me in the very next class where we'll begin to take a look at the core template files which you'll find in any WordPress theme. Welcome back, and in the previous video I said that a WordPress template file is one that tells WordPress what content to display, how to display that content, and where to display that content. Now it is very important to understand that we have different kinds of template files. We have the template files that WordPress recognizes automatically based on the name. An example being the 404.php. Once you have the 404.php template file in your theme folder, WordPress automatically knows that yes, this is the template file I have to use to display the contents for any 404 page. And the reason why WordPress knows that is because of the name of the file. It says 404.php. If I changed 404 to, let's say, 405 or 404x.php, WordPress is not going to recognize that template file. Likewise with archive.php, comments.php, footer.php, all these are the template files that WordPress would recognize automatically. If I came in here right now and created a new file named spiderman.php, WordPress is not going to know what spiderman.php is used for. That becomes a custom template file. Okay, now while you're likely to find many of these default template files in most WordPress themes, custom template files, on the other hand, tend to be unique to that particular theme. So don't be surprised if you opened up the 2017 theme folder, and you saw certain files that you don't see in any other WordPress theme out there. That could be a custom template file that is unique to the 2017 theme. And of course, I'm going to show you how to create your very own custom template files as we progress. But what I want to do right now is to show you some examples of these core template files that you're likely to find in the very vast majority of WordPress themes out there. And the very first one would be the header.php. Let's open this up. Now, this is the header for our theme. You can see right now that this is the template file WordPress would use to display the contents of the top section of our website. So typically, things like the logo, the main menu, if you have any social media icons on the top right hand corner, it is usually the header.php that will display such content. Now let's take a look. If I decided to type in some text in here, you can see right now I'm typing just below the head tag. If I said this is our header, full stop, let me save this. Now let's go back to our theme. Let's refresh. Now you can see at the very top right here, it says this is our header. So right now I have just proven to you that indeed WordPress is using header.php to display the contents of the header section of our site. So you can go ahead, test this, type out some text. You can even decide to type out the text just below, down here at the very bottom, just after site content. You can type that in here as well. Just paste that. This is our header. Let's save that. Let's go back in here. Let's refresh the page. And where is it now? You can see that it shows up right here. This is our header. So we now know that the header.php controls all the content from my blog right here down to where we have this is our header. All the template files will now take control and continue to display contents for the post, as you can see right here, and even contents for our sidebar down in here as well. So header.php is a very common WordPress template file. It is a template file you will find in just about every single kind of WordPress theme. Another thing that's very special about the header.php is that it is a template file that is very often called in just about every single other template file out there that displays some kind of content. What do I mean? Take, for example, we have the page.php. Now, this is the template for displaying all pages. So whenever you create a new page, whether it's the about page, the contact page, and so on and so forth, WordPress would use this particular template file to display contents for that page. However, take a look at this line right here. It says get header. What this means is that right here, WordPress is going to call the contents of the header.php. There is a reason why whenever you visit any page on any website, you're more than likely to see the logo on every single page. You will see the main menu on every single page, and that is because the header.php is constantly called in every single page and every single post because of this simple line of get header. So template files like the header.php, the footer.php right here, which is the one that controls contents at the bottom of a site, these two are very often called in just about every single template file out there. Keep in mind, very, very important, keep in mind that one template file can have other template files inside of it. A classic example again is the page.php. This is the template file for displaying content for all pages. In here right now, we have 3 additional template files. We have the header right here that's been called, okay? We have the get sidebar, which is actually used to retrieve the contents of our sidebar. And we have the get footer, which is used to retrieve the contents of our footer.php. So keep in mind that there are certain template files that have other template files inside of them. So going back, the header.php, footer.php, these are the 2 template files that you will very likely find in just about every single page out there, or even every single post out there. There are other major core WordPress template files, such as the archive.php. This is, of course, the template file for displaying contents of your archives. We have also the sidebar.php, which will display contents that you have in your sidebar, mostly, of course, your widgets. We have the single.php. This is the one for displaying all single posts. Okay, so just to give you a very, very quick example, if I came in here right now and I typed in, let's say this is a post, okay, let's save this. Let's quickly go back to our back end right here. Let's see if we have any posts. Okay, I do have a post that was created by default. Let's view the post. Now you can see right here, it says this is a post because WordPress right now is using the single.php to display contents for this particular post. And we typed in here, this is a post. But also notice that we have, this is our header. And that is because right here, where you have get_header, WordPress is calling the contents of our header.php. And in the header.php, we have, where do we have it? Let's scroll all the way down here. We have, oh, we actually, okay, yeah, this is right here. This is our header. This is where it's calling that line of text. So if I now deleted this, let's save. Let's go back in here and refresh the page. Now you can see we no longer have this is our header. We only have this is a post. So these are just some examples of the core template files that make up any WordPress theme. Header.php, footer.php, archive.php, single.php, page.php. These are the core template files. However, before I go, I want to talk about the most important WordPress template file of all, and that is the index.php. This is the mother of all template files. And the reason why this template file is so important is because this is the default template file WordPress would use to display content whenever there isn't a more specific template out there. What am I talking about? We know that page.php is the template for displaying what? Content for our pages. But we also know that single.php is the template file for displaying contents for our posts. The difference, we have a template file for pages, we have one for the posts. However, if we didn't have single.php to display contents for our posts, if we didn't have page.php to display contents for our pages, WordPress automatically will fall back to using the index.php. So index.php is like the last stand. It is the last option. It is the backup option, just in case there isn't a more specific template file out there for displaying content. So we'll talk a lot about the index.php as we progress, but for now, know that we have different kinds of template files. We have the core ones, but we also have the index.php, which is the default template file for displaying contents for WordPress whenever there isn't a more specific template file out there. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next class. Let's now talk about some additional template files, which I like to refer to as secondary template files. These are template files that are not quite as important as the main template files like the header.php or the index.php or the footer.php and so on and so forth. An example here would be the comments.php. Obviously, by the name, this is the template file for displaying comments. It's not the most important template file out there. You could actually even control how comments are displayed directly from the single.php template file. The thing about secondary template files is that they are there to make the coding a bit easier, to make the coding a bit more distributed across template files, so that you don't have too much code inside of one single template file. That's the main purpose of secondary template files. They are nice to have, they play a role, but again, they are not quite as important as the core template files. Let's take a look at some other themes like the 2015 theme, and in here we have what we have, the author-bio.php. Again, this is a template for displaying author bios. So again, it's not the most important template file out there. It does play a role, but again, it's not like the header.php or the index.php. Let's take a look at another theme like the 2017 theme, which has one here called the search form.php. So you will very likely find many of these secondary template files in many WordPress themes. You will have the core ones out there, you will have the secondary ones, and then you will quite possibly also have the custom template files as well. We'll take a look at all these template files a bit later as well. But before I round up this video, let's talk about two very important files that you will find in any WordPress theme. They technically are not template files, but they play a very huge role in determining how WordPress will display your contents. The very first one would be the functions.php, and boy, this is a template file we are going to spend a lot of time on. This is basically the template file that contains every single function. Well, not every single function, but the majority of functions that we have in our WordPress website. The reason why I'm saying majority and not all is because many themes out there also tend to break up the functions.php. They might add, let's say, 70% of all the functions code inside of the functions.php, and then the remaining 30%, they might distribute all those functions in other template files as well. So it's not every time that the functions.php contains all the functions that we have in our WordPress website. So take note of that. But you will very likely find the vast majority of your functions contained inside of the functions.php template file. So whenever you have a function for creating a new sidebar, or for creating a new template file, or for creating a new kind of custom post type, such functions will typically be contained inside of the functions.php. Now, in here as an example, you can see right now that we have some functions for adding title tags, support for title tags, for adding support for post thumbnails as well. You have a function here that allows people to create menus and so on and so forth. So we will create lots of our own custom functions as we progress in the course. But again, functions.php is a template file you will very likely find in just about every single WordPress theme out there. And let's talk about one more file, which is of course the style.css. Now, this is the most important file ever. And what's actually strange is that all this file does is control how the content is actually displayed. This is where you will have the declarations for how your text would look like, how the logo will appear, how big would it be. You have your margins, your patterns, your borders, your coloring, everything, your background images. All the styling is basically declared inside of the style.css template file. The reason why I said it is the most important file is because you cannot have a WordPress theme without the style.css template file. In fact, style.css and the index.php are the two most important files in any WordPress theme. You cannot have a WordPress theme without both of these two template files. So that's it for the functions.php and the style.css. Again, throughout this course, we're going to be spending a lot of time on the functions.php and the style.css template files. But that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next class. Alright, so before moving on, I wanted us to spend a little bit of time to take a look at a sample template file. In this case, the header.php. I want us to take a closer look at the actual code itself that makes up a template file and what you can expect to see in other template files as well. Now, right from the very top right here, you can see we do have our opening PHP tag in red, and we also have the closing PHP tag for this section in here as well. One of the requirements for this course is that you have at least a basic understanding of how PHP actually works. It's very, very important. In here, you can see we have some text in green. Whenever you see such text, now let me put out a small disclaimer here. This is Notepad++. The text editor you're using might have a different color for comments or for text, so just beware of that. But if you're using Notepad++, it's very often in green. So whenever you see anything in green, that simply means a comment. It's not actually part of the code. What you have there, though, is just maybe a brief description of the next block of code, or maybe a description of what that actual file is all about. And in this case right now, you can see all the text saying, this is the header for our theme. This is the template that displays all of the head section and everything up until the div ID content section. So that's why everything in here is in green. And just to give you a quick pointer, whenever you're inside of a PHP code block, in this case right now, you can see we have the opening right here, and then we have the closing just over here as well. So whenever you're inside of a PHP block of code and you want to write a comment, the typical way would be to have the / and then an asterisk. Now, for some reason, in this case, we do have two asterisks, as you can see. It's not compulsory to have two. You can go with one right now, as you can see, and everything will still be fine. But I have noticed that in many WordPress themes, they typically tend to start with two or have two asterisks. So it is something that you might want to do as well, just to keep up the WordPress tradition, so to say. Or you can just ignore it and do your own thing. It's fine. I'm going to add the asterisk back. So once you have the / and then the two asterisks, you can begin to type in your comments. You don't have to have the asterisks at the beginning of each new line. You don't have to. You can just type in your text and you'll be good to go. And at the very end right here, we do have the closing asterisk with the / as well. Very, very important. That signals the end of the comments section. So that's just to give you a quick pointer. Now, you may have noticed that down in here, we do have some other comments as well. We have site branding, we have site navigation, we have masthead. Now, these are written in a different way. We have the opening bracket, and then we have the apostrophe sign, and then two dashes, and then some space, and then at the end we have two dashes, and then the closing bracket. This type of commenting is for HTML. It's not for PHP, it's for HTML. So note the difference. Whenever you're making comments inside of a PHP block, you start off with the / and then the asterisk, and then you close it with the asterisk and then the /. But if you are making a comment inside of HTML, you typically want to go with the opening tag apostrophe and then the two dashes, and then put in your comment, and then the two dashes, and then the closing tag. Very, very important to realize the difference between the two. But don't worry, we're going to do lots of this as we progress in the course. But now let's take a look at the actual code itself. I want you to, for now, just forget about what we have at the top in here. This is just some HTML stuff which we don't need to worry ourselves about. But coming down here right now, you can see that we do have lots of different classes and IDs. I'm talking about CSS in this case. We do have the ID for page, we have the class for site, we have some other IDs in here like masthead, site header for the class. We have another class here, site branding, and so on and so forth. So this is something you will find in many template files, IDs and classes for different template tags and blocks of code. But let's take a closer look again in here where we have the header, ID masthead. You can see we do have a class here that says site branding, and then we have custom logo right here. We also have things like the blog info, description. So right now you should be thinking to yourself, okay, this is the block of code that controls how the logo is displayed. It's also the block of code that determines how our blog info and blog description, or site description rather, is being displayed as well. And then down here you can see we also have the nav, ID of site navigation, we have main navigation, we have primary menu, and we have stuff like that. So again, you should already be thinking to yourself, okay, this would probably be the block of code that controls how our main navigation is displayed. This are one of the ways how you can interpret the code that you have inside of a template file. Simply look at the words, what the words are. You see navigation, you should be thinking, okay, that's the main navigation. You see logo, you should be thinking, okay, this is the part that controls the main logo, and so on and so forth. So this is one way how you can quickly recognize what a particular block of code is doing. So that's pretty much it for the kinds of code that you will find inside of a template file. Very, very important that you have a decent understanding of HTML, CSS, and of course the basics of PHP. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next class. Let's talk about a very crucial topic that is necessary in order to be able to build a WordPress theme, and that is the WordPress template hierarchy. Very, very important. But before we delve into the hierarchy itself, let's first of all talk about a few pointers, and the very first one here being that more than one template can be used to display the same content. Now, as an example, the page.php, we know that page.php is typically used by WordPress to display contents for a page. Keep in mind, though, that it's not just the page.php that is only used by WordPress. WordPress can use other template files to display contents for our pages. Keep that in mind. And then secondly, index.php is the default template for all content. So whenever WordPress cannot find a more specific template, WordPress will always default to using the index.php. Index.php is the fallback template for all types of content. Now, the template hierarchy itself is a system that WordPress would use to determine what template is used to display a specific type of content. So going back to the very first point where I said more than one template can be used to display the same kind of content, the template hierarchy is what WordPress will deploy to determine which template file will first of all be used, and then if that template file doesn't exist, it will then jump on to the next template file, and so on and so forth until it gets to the index.php. That's what this template hierarchy is all about. Let's move on. WordPress uses a query string to identify the template that is used. What is this query string? Well, the query string is information that is contained in the URL of the web page. And over there we have an example, taskopedia.com/blog/category/books. Merely looking at that URL, WordPress already knows that this link, this URL, is pointing to a category with the name of books. And it knows that because it has inspected the URL and it says category right there. Now, WordPress, to determine the kind of template that is used, WordPress will first of all match every query string to a query type to decide the type of page requested. We just saw an example. So WordPress will first of all determine whether or not this link, this URL, is pointing to a post, if it's pointing to a page, if it's pointing to a search results page, if it's pointing to a category page, and so on and so forth. That's the very first thing WordPress will do. Once WordPress has been able to determine the kind of page being requested, it will then search for the template files with specific names in the theme directory, and it will then use the first matching file as specified by the hierarchy. Let's take a look at an example. Over here we have taskopedia.com/category/books. How will WordPress determine the template file that will be used to display the content of this particular URL? First things first, WordPress would look for a template that matches the slug of the category, which in this case is books. If you don't know what slug is just basically the name. Okay, slug can be used interchangeably with name. So right now we can see that the category, the name of this category or the slug of this category is books. So first of all, WordPress would look for a template file called books or category-books. Okay, if category-books.php is missing, WordPress will then use the ID. Let's just imagine that the ID in this case is 7. WordPress will then look for a template file named category-7.php. Okay, so we can now see the hierarchy forming. First of all, it searches for category-books.php. That doesn't exist. Okay, category-7.php is next. If category-7.php is missing, WordPress will then search for the generic category template, which is category.php. If category.php is missing, WordPress will then check for archive.php. And if archive.php is missing, finally, WordPress will resolve to using the index.php. Don't worry, in the very next video, I'm going to show you a real life example so that you will understand this better. But I want to show you this image right here to give you an idea of the template hierarchy for all types of pages. Now you can see we have the 404 page. We have search, taxonomy, home, attachment, single page, category tag, author date, and archive. And then you can see the very first type of template file that WordPress will search for, and then the next, and then finally look towards the right of each line. You can see index.php, 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 index.php every single time, because index.php is always the default template file WordPress would use if it cannot find a more specific template. So going back to the example which we just had with the category, you can see for category we have category-slug, category-id, category.php, archive.php, and then finally index.php. This is how the hierarchy works. This is how WordPress determines what template file that is used to display the contents of a specific URL. Join me in the next class where I will show you a real-life example of how the template hierarchy works. In the previous class, we talked about the template hierarchy and how WordPress uses it to determine what template file is used to display content. So now let's take a look at a real-life example of the template hierarchy in action. But first of all, I'm going to go ahead and create a category. All right. So I'm going to come in here to posts. Let's add a new category, and I'm going to name that category books. Okay. Just like we had in the example. Add the new category, and we can now see it's called books. Now, if I click on view right now, you can see that nothing pretty much is happening. We have nothing found because, of course, we don't have any posts that have the category of books. However, the question right now is, what template file is WordPress using to display this particular page that we're looking at right now? I am going to bring over my Notepad++. And of course, in here, I do have my theme directory for the starter theme. Now, we don't see anything like category-books. We don't see category-the ID of books. But what we see, though, is archive.php. We actually don't even see category.php, which is more specific or which is higher in the template hierarchy than archive.php. So my best guess right now is that WordPress is using archive.php to display the contents of this particular page. But let's make sure, all right? I'm going to double click on archive.php, and just below header, I'm going to say this is level 4. Let's save this. Let's go back in here. Let's refresh. And now you can see it says this is level 4. So WordPress is using archive.php right now to display the contents. Let's now try creating a new template file. First things first is I am going to jump back again to categories, and let's get the ID for books. Right now at the bottom right now, you can see that the category equals 2. So 2 is the ID of this particular category. So let's do this. I'm going to go ahead now, and I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to name that file category-2.php. Click OK. Let's open it up, and I will just say this is level 2. This is literally the only thing we have in the template. So let's save it. Oops, sorry. Let's cancel. Save. All right, let's go back to books. Let's view. And now you can see all we have is this is level 2, because right now WordPress has found a more specific template, which is the category-2.php. Needless to say, if I go back in here right now and create a new file named category-books.php, click OK. Let's open it up, and then let's say this is level 1. Let's save that. Now let's go back, let's refresh the page, and there you go, this is level 1. So right now, WordPress has found the topmost template file in the hierarchy, which is the category-slug or category-name, which in this case is category-books. It saw that, which is why WordPress is now using it as the main template file. But if I go back again right now and decide to delete category-books, let's delete the file. And now let's even go ahead and delete category-2.php. Let's delete that because we don't need it anymore. Let's delete that. But now if I go ahead and create a new file and name that category.php, let's open it up. And I'm just going to say this is the generic template for all categories. Full stop. Let's save that. Let's now go back in here, refresh. And of course, you can now see that WordPress is now using category.php because category.php comes after the category-slug, category-id. That's when we now have category.php, and so on and so forth. So this is the WordPress template hierarchy in action. You can see how WordPress will first of all check for the topmost template file in the hierarchy. If it doesn't see it, it jumps to the next one in the order, and so on and so forth, until finally it gets to index.php. So this kind of gives you an idea of just why index.php is arguably the most important template file in WordPress. So that's it for the template hierarchy in action. Feel free to play around with the other template files out there. You already have the image from the previous slideshow. You can play around with the page-slug, page-category, stuff like that. You can just go ahead, experiment, and see the template hierarchy in action. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. All right, welcome back. And so far, so good. We've been talking about WordPress template files. We know that they are used by WordPress to display content on a page. And we know that WordPress has its default template files that it comes with. Now, what I mean by default is that WordPress will automatically recognize those template files based on their names once we have those template files in our theme directory. Just so we're clear, every single template file you see on this picture is a default WordPress template file. Because if in your theme directory you have a search.php, or you have a single.php, you have an archive.php, you have a page-4.php, assuming that 4 is the ID of a page, WordPress automatically will recognize every single one of these template files and will know when and how to use those template files. That's why I say that they are default WordPress template files. It doesn't mean that you're going to find them in every single theme directory. No. All I'm saying is when you have these template files in your theme directory, WordPress already automatically recognizes them. However, we could decide to create our own custom page templates. Now, these are templates that WordPress will not automatically recognize. When we create them, we would have to tell WordPress that, hey, this is a template file, and then we want you to use this template file to display this type of content. That's why they are called custom page templates, because WordPress doesn't automatically recognize them. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you how to create your very own custom page template. Now, to do this, I am going to bring over my Notepad++. And the very first thing we're going to do is to create the template file in our theme directory. So in here, where we have starter, which is the name of the theme directory, I'm going to right click and I'm going to create a new file. And I am going to name my file page-fullwidth.php. All right. Now notice I said page dash and then the name of the actual template itself. You could decide to use a different naming structure. You don't have to use page dash and then the name of the template file. You can use any kind of naming convention that you want. You could go with fullwidth.php and that will be fine. I just like naming my own custom page templates with the page dash and then the actual name of the template. I just like that kind of standard, that kind of approach towards naming our custom page templates. So what I'm going to do right now would be to double click inside. You can see right now that it's empty. It's empty, of course, there is nothing in it. So the very first thing we have to do right now would be the most important, which is to give this template file the actual name itself. Make WordPress recognize that this is indeed a custom page template. So we're going to go with the / and then asterisks, 2 of them. But before we do that, we actually need to open up our PHP tags. Let's open up our PHP tag first of all. All right, so PHP, and now I'm going to say template name, and then colon is going to be full width. Okay, so now we can close this, asterisks, / let's close that. Let's save it. So now we have told WordPress that, hey, this particular file is a custom page template, and the template name is full width. Okay, so now let's see what this does. I am going to go to my back end. Let's go ahead and create a new page. Let's try adding a new page, and I'm just going to go ahead and say custom page. Now take a look over here to the right where we have template. When I click on the drop down arrow box, we now have something called the full width template available for us to use. This is how you know that indeed you have successfully created a custom page template. So now we can tell WordPress to use this template whenever it wants to display contents for our custom page, or our page named custom page right here. So I can publish right now. Oh, actually, I didn't change this to full width. Let's update. And now let's view the page. And there you go. It's empty because there is absolutely nothing inside of our full width template besides, of course, the template name. So right now we can begin to add some additional code. So let's just say PHP, and then I can say get header as an example, brackets, semicolon. Let's close that. Let's save. Now let's see what happens over here. Refresh. And there you go. We now have our header. Let's also do the same for the footer as well. Let's just paste that in here. Let's change header to footer. Let's save that. And now let's save. Let's refresh. And now you can see we now have our footer displaying. So this is exactly how you can create your very own custom page template. Of course, we will be creating more custom page templates as we progress in the course, but right now you have successfully learned how to create your very own custom page template. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. Alrighty, so in the previous video we talked about how to create a custom page template, but now I want to show you how you would write your very own custom WordPress function. Okay, we're going to write a very basic function that would output some text on any template file where we choose to call that function in. So let's say, for example, I do have my notepad++ over here. I open up the header.php, and let's say, for example, I wanted to output the text that says this is a WordPress website. Now I could do that in here. I could say h1. We're going to wrap it around h1 tags so that it's big and bold, and say, let's just say welcome to this website. And let me close the h1 tag, and I could even add a class and call this class greetings, give it a class of greetings. And I could even add a div as well with a class of let's just say welcome. And on a new line, let me just indent this actually. On a new line, I can put out a paragraph and say, I hope you enjoy your stay. Let's close the paragraph and let's close the div. All right. Okay, so let me just save this first of all and make sure it's outputting correctly. Refresh the page and here you go. Welcome to this website. I hope you enjoy your stay. Now, if we wanted to output this text on other template files, typically we would need to copy this block of code and then paste it wherever we want to display it in. However, by writing a function, we can make this job a lot easier and make the code a lot more clean. So what I'm going to do right now would be to show you how you would write a WordPress function to display this text whenever we call it. So to do that, I'm going to open up the functions.php file. Keep in mind that typically, usually, functions.php is where you would find the functions that make up a WordPress theme. Let's come down in here, and what I'm going to do would be to add my comments first of all and say custom function 1 aesthetics. And now what I'm going to do is to write the name function, first of all, function, all right, and then I can say add underscore greeting. That would be the name of the function right now, brackets, and then my curly bracket opened up. I am going to close the PHP tag, and let me just cut this off. We don't need that anymore. Save header.php. Come back in here right now and paste a block of code. And now down in here, I am simply going to go ahead now and close the PHP block of code using this closing curly bracket. All right, so what's happening over here? If you have experience with PHP, then you definitely know why I had to use the curly bracket and all that. But if you don't know, let me just quickly explain to you. The reason now why I have this curly bracket opened up in here is because in programming, you can never have HTML code directly inside of an open PHP block of code. You can have PHP code inside of an HTML code, that's fine, but you cannot have HTML inside of a PHP code. Right now, if you scroll all the way up, you can see we do have the opening PHP tag over here, and it never closes up until the very end here. Now, the reason why I closed it is because I am now writing out some pure HTML, which is the div class equals welcome, blah, 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 blah. All that is HTML. So I have to close the PHP tag, first of all, before I can write out this HTML. Now, the reason why I do have this curly bracket open, though, is to indicate that this HTML code is actually part of this PHP function. That is why I have the curly bracket open. And of course, whenever you have something open, you should close it, unless of course if it's the main PHP tag right here. Typically in WordPress and in functions.php, most developers will open up the PHP code, but they will never close it. Okay, so let's come all the way down here. So over here right now, I had to close the curly bracket that I opened up over here. And that's why I had to open up the PHP code again, so that this curly bracket will be recognized as PHP code. I hope you got that. Feel free to reach out to me if you don't understand what I did there. But we've now added a function. Its name is outGreeting. So let's save this. So now what I can do would be to simply come over here right now, and instead of writing all that code, I can just say PHP and then add underscore greeting, brackets, semicolon, and then close that. So now we have a function right here. Let's save. Let's go back in here. Let's refresh the page. And there you go. We have our text. So if I wanted to display this greeting at the bottom of our post or our page, I can just copy this function right now, go to footer.php, and then over here, I can just paste that block of code as well, save, refresh the page. And now down here, you can see we have the same function calling out the text that we've created. So congratulations, you've just created your very first custom WordPress function. I know it's very basic. Don't worry, we're going to write a lot more advanced functions as we progress. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. Alrighty, welcome back. And while we're on the topic of functions, let's talk about one function that you're very likely going to find in many WordPress themes, and it's also a function you might want to use when you're building your very own WordPress theme, and that is the get_template_part function. Now, this is a function that allows a theme to reuse the same kind of code in different template files. So rather than having a huge chunk of code in one single template file, you could break up the code into, let's say, 2 or 3 different template files, and then on one main template file you can call in all these code from all the other template files. Now, what am I talking about? Let's take a look at the Notepad++. Let's take a look at our template theme directory, and I'm going to open up index.php. All right. Now let's take a look over here. We do have the function right here, get underscore template underscore part, and then inside we do have, inside of the brackets, we do have some text, and we also have something very similar down here as well. So what's happening? What this means is we are telling WordPress at this point right now to look for a folder called template parts. And then inside of that template parts folder, look for a file called content.php. In the second example over here, it's very similar. Look for a file called content-none.php inside of a folder called template-parts. So let's take a look. Right now over here to the right where we have our theme directory, we do have template-parts folder just underneath the layouts folder. So if I open it up right now, you can see that we do have 4 different template files. We have content.php, content-none, content-page, content-search. You will note that there is a difference between the content.php and the rest of them. The difference being that content.php doesn't have an extension. It doesn't have an extension like the second one, which has none or page or search. The second, third, and fourth files all have extensions, none, page, search. So the reason why this particular format over here is different from this one is because the file we are calling over here doesn't have an extension. That's why you have get underscore post underscore format. So this basically simply means that just look for a file called content.php. But in an instance where the file we're looking for does have an extension, rather than the get underscore post underscore format, you're going to have the name of the extension right over here after the comma. So in an instance where we wanted to call, let's say content-search, we would look for a template part known as template-parts /content and then comma and then search and so on and so forth. So that's basically how the get underscore template underscore part function works. So rather than having all the code for content.php, which is, you can see right now, it's quite a lot. Rather than having all of this inside of our index.php, we can simply pick up the code, put it in content.php, and then in our index.php, we can simply use the function get underscore template underscore part to call in the contents of our content.php. Now, I want to show you something over here from the WordPress directory. Let's come down here. Let me give you an example. So they do have different examples over here as well, as you can see, but I wanted to show you one in particular. And all right, so you can see right here, we do have an example with the theme subfolders. So it simply says that to use this function with subfolders in your theme directory, simply prepend the folder name before the slug. And so for example, if you have a folder called partials in your theme directory and a template part called content-page.php, this is exactly how you'd write the function, as you can see. So if you want to practice this, you can go ahead right now and try calling the contents of the page-fullwidth.php, put this particular file inside of the template parts folder, or you could even create a separate file completely. You can put in some text inside that file and then try calling that file using the get underscore template underscore path function if you want to. But of course, later on, we will be taking a closer look at this function as we begin to build our WordPress themes. So that's it. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. Let's now talk about what is the most powerful and the most important function in all of WordPress, and that is the WordPress Loop. This is the function responsible for displaying all the content of your posts, your pages, your custom post types, and so on and so forth. So without this function, well, your WordPress website will basically be non-existent. So it is very important to understand how the WordPress loop works and also how you can customize the loop to serve you, because it is a very, very powerful function. Now, I want to first of all show you the standard way of writing this function. There are different ways how you can write this function, how you can write the loop, but the standard way is what we have over here. Okay, we have if in brackets have posts, and then while have posts, the post. Now the question right now is, what does this mean? What exactly is happening over here? I'm gonna try and break it down to you in as simple of a manner as I possibly can, okay? Because I know it can be a little bit complicated. First things first is the function right over here where we have if and then in brackets have underscore posts. What's happening here is WordPress is checking, first of all, to see if there are any posts to display. That is the very first criteria that needs to be satisfied. You can't display contents of a post if you have no post in the first place, right? So it first of all checks to see if we have posts. And now over here we have the second criteria saying while have posts. So we've checked to see if we have a post, and oh, okay, we do have a post, right? Now, while we do have that post, display the contents of the post. That's what the third subfunction over here is doing. It's simply saying, okay, right now, since we have posts, and as long as we continue to have posts, display the content of that post. That's basically what this line of code is saying. Let's take a look at some real life examples. I'm going to bring in Notepad, of course, as always. And I'm going to open up index.php. Now, right over here, you can see start the loop. We now have, actually, it started over here where we have if have posts, and then we had some text. And now down over here, we do have while have posts, the post. This is the loop working over here. And let me just say something right now. It is very, very important that your index.php is linked to your WordPress loop. The WordPress loop must be linked to your index.php one way or the other. You can either have the loop directly inside of the index.php, or you can have the loop in another template file, but make sure that template file is called from the index.php. Very, very important. All right, we'll talk more about this a bit later, of course. But you can see right now that in index.php, we do have the loop. Bear in mind too that we can have the loop in other places as well, not just the index.php. Come over here to page.php. In here again, you can see we have the loop over here as well. So we can have the loop in several different template files. And also keep in mind that the loop is responsible for displaying contents of our pages as well, not just posts. You use the loop for your posts, for your pages. And if you also wanted to create custom post types, you would also use the WordPress loop as well. So join me in the next class where we will now take a closer look at how WordPress uses the loop to display contents of our posts using something called the template tags. Welcome back to the course, and so far so good. We're getting a little bit better at understanding how WordPress works behind the scenes. And in the previous class, we talked about the WordPress loop. And when concluding, I said that WordPress uses, or rather the WordPress loop uses something called template tags to display content on our website. So what exactly are these template tags? Well, template tags are like inbuilt functions that come with WordPress. And they are used to either retrieve the attributes of a particular piece of content or display that content itself. So whenever we're displaying things like the title of a post, the date a post was published, the thumbnail, the content, the author of the post, information like that, we are using template tags to display all those kinds of information. And let me just give you a very quick example. Let's bring in Mr. Notepad over here, and I am going to go ahead right now and open up index.php. And let's see what we have over here. All right, I'm going to go to template parts, content, and of course, open up the content.php file. All right, now as an example, you can see over here we have a tag called the title. You can see it right there. This is what WordPress would use to display the title of a WordPress post, because we have the tag the_title. And if you scroll down over here, we have the_ content. This is the tag WordPress would use to display the content of a post, and so on and so forth. So whenever you see a featured image on your WordPress website, the content, the excerpt, know that behind the scenes, WordPress is using template tags to display those information. And you should also keep in mind that in general, we have two different types of template tags depending on where they are positioned. We have template tags that must be inside of the WordPress loop. The reason why the content and the title is working right now is because they are technically inside of our WordPress loop, which was started over here. If you came outside of the WordPress loop, let's say for example, just over here right now, and over here, if you just said something like PHP the_title, and then you do that, nothing is going to happen over here because WordPress does not know what you're trying to do. You're saying, okay, the title, but the title of what exactly? This is not inside of the loop. If this tag was inside the loop, then WordPress knows that, okay, you are calling the title of this post, or you're calling the title of this page. When you have such a tag outside of the WordPress loop, WordPress doesn't know what to do with it. On the other hand, there are template tags that you actually use outside of the WordPress loop, and a very good example would be the get header. Get header is a standalone. You can call get header anywhere besides inside. Of course, you can call get header inside of the loop, okay? But you can call get header anywhere as long as it's outside the loop. So tags like get_header, get sidebar, get footer, all these tags are called outside of our WordPress loop. So just to give a quick recap, you can either have tags that run inside of a WordPress loop, or you have the tags that run outside of the WordPress loop. Now, there is a very fantastic link over here, template tags from the WordPress Codex. I would highly encourage you to spend maybe 5 minutes just to go through this, and you can learn a little bit more about template tags. You scroll all the way down here right now, and you can see we do have the general tags that are typically called outside of the WordPress loop. You have the author tags, but now down here, you can see we have category tags, comment tags, we have link tags as well. Now we have post tags. These are tags used for WordPress posts. So now you can see things like the next post link, next posts link. You have the category, you have the content, the excerpt, the tags, the title. You have, what else do you have here? You have the date, you have the time, and so on and so forth. So all these tags here can be used inside of a WordPress loop to display some more content or information about a particular WordPress post. So that's it, a very brief introduction to template tags. Join me in the next class where we'll take a closer look at these template tags. Welcome back, and we're still on the topic of WordPress template tags. Now, if you had the chance to take a look at some of all these tags that we have in here, you might notice that there are tags that appear to be very similar. An example being where we have the author tags, we have the_author, and then we have the next tag, which is get_the_author. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, what exactly is the difference between these two? And it's not just the author tag. There are other tags around here where you have, let's see, we have some other similar examples. We have stuff like the permalink, the _permalink, but then we also have get_permalink and a few other examples like that. Now, whenever you see tags like this, okay, just keep in mind that when you have the and then underscore and then the name of the tag, all that tag is doing is simply displaying that particular piece of content. So the _author will display the name of the author. The _title will display the name of the title, and so on and so forth. However, when you have get underscore, what that tag is doing, it's not just displaying the content. It's not just going to go ahead and display the content. It's actually going to retrieve the attributes and the properties of that particular piece of content, meaning that you could use such a tag to modify the way that particular content is displayed. All right, let me take that again. When you have the underscore and then the name of a tag, all that template tag is doing is displaying. It just wants to display, that's all. When you have get underscore, it's not going to display the piece of content outright. Rather, it's going to retrieve the content for you to modify. You can then go ahead and modify and say, okay, well, I'm going to display the title this way. I would like to add some stuff in here, make some stuff right there before we eventually display the title. So in a way, the tags that have get underscore are more powerful because they give you more options. We also use such tags, the get underscore tags. We use them whenever we're writing functions as well. So if we wanted to write a very special function in our functions.php to do something spicy with the name of the author or the title of our post, we would use get underscore the underscore title or get underscore the underscore author and so on and so forth. So that's kind of like the two major differences between the underscore and then the name of the tag and then the get underscore the underscore name of the tag. I've been saying lots of underscores. I'm getting kind of tired. all right. So let me just show you some other few things. Let's take a look at the underscore author. Let's just click inside. Now, whenever you're taking a look at the actual description of tags, actually, this is not a really good example. Let's go back. Let's look for the underscore category. Let me click on the underscore category right now. Now, many times, whenever you're trying to read up on a particular tag, you will have the description, first of all, telling you exactly what the tag would do. And if the tag must be used inside of the loop, you will also be notified, as you can see right here. Next up, you will have the usage. How would you use this tag? All right. Now, in here, we do have a classic example, the underscore category. And then inside, guess what? We have 3 different parameters. Parameters are additional things that you can add to spice up the way that our tag will display whatever it is that it's displaying. So in the case of the underscore category right now, you can add a separator. And usually these parameters can either be in the form of a string, which would be text, or in the form of an integer, which would be a number. All right. Don't worry, we will write lots of functions as we go on, so you will get a better idea of how these things actually work. But you can see right now we do have 3 parameters. We have the separator, which you can add. We also have parents that you can add as well. And finally, you have the post ID, which will be the post ID to retrieve categories. And if you don't add any values for some of these separators that are optional, in this case, all 3 are optional, as you can see, WordPress will have a default value that it would use in such an instance. All right. So many a time, whenever you're dealing with the underscore, the name of the tag, most of the time, the parameters that come with it are usually optional. You don't have to add any parameters at all. However, many times when you use the get underscore the underscore name of the tag, very often you would have to have at least one parameter that is required for you to fill in. So again, don't worry, as we progress, we're going to be dealing with lots of tags, we'll write functions, so you'll get more accustomed to how these things actually work. But for now, I just wanted you to understand the major difference between the get underscore the underscore name of the tag and then the underscore name of the tags, and also understand what our parameters are whenever you're dealing with template tags. So as usual, if you have any questions about this, you want to learn more, you're confused, always feel free to reach out to me. Thank you for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next class. Still on tags, and before we move on to something else, I wanted to quickly introduce you to a very special branch of WordPress template tags. I'm talking about conditional tags. Now, conditional tags are extremely useful because they allow us as a theme developer to first of all check to see if a particular condition or requirement has been satisfied before we go ahead and do something. So we do have lots of different kinds of conditional tags. You can have a tag to check to see if a user is currently on the front page of your site. We have tags to check to see if a user is currently viewing a particular post. You can even check by the post ID or the post slug. You can check to see if a particular post is hierarchical. You can check to see if we're currently viewing a sticky post. You can check to see if comments are allowed, and so on and so forth. Lots of different kinds of tags out there. You can check to see if a user is currently logged in. You can check to see if a person is actually viewing your site on a mobile device or on a desktop. So there are so many conditional tags out there, and they are going to be very useful for us when we're building our theme, because sometimes as a theme developer, you might want to first of all check to see if a particular action is being carried out before you go ahead and display something. So always keep this in mind. Conditional tags, we have them available to use whenever we want to make sure that a particular requirement or condition has been satisfied before we do something. So we're going to use them as we progress in the course. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. Alrighty, so far so good. We have learned quite a lot already. We've taken a look at the template hierarchy. We've taken a look at page templates, the WordPress loop, template tags. Now it is time for us to put all of that into practice. We are going to go ahead now and build a sample page template, and we're going to work with a custom WordPress loop as well. But before we do all of this, I want you to go ahead and create some content which we can practice with. Now you can see right now I have created 3 posts, post 1, post 2, post 3. I also have 3 different categories: books, slides, and videos. Each one of these categories must have 1 post at least, okay? So you can also go ahead now and create your own custom posts. Take a look at what I have over here. I do have some dummy content, some dummy text, and I got that from this website, lorem-ipsum.paybank.dk. You can get some text in here if you want to. I also have featured images for each one of the 3 posts as well. So go ahead now, create 3 different posts, give them titles, create 3 different categories. Make sure that these 3 posts belong to one of the categories. Add featured images as well, and I will see you in the next class. Alrighty, so hopefully you have gone ahead to create your custom content, and what we're going to do right now would be to create a custom page template that will be used to display the contents of our blog posts using a custom WordPress loop. So in other words, we're going to create our own version of the blog page where you would normally find the contents of your WordPress posts. So first of all, before we do that, we need to make some slight adjustments to our current site, some slight adjustments to the design. Now you can see that all our content is bumped up to the sides of our screen, and it basically looks really rough. So what we need to do right now would be to add some padding to our body tag. So to do that, let's bring in Notepad. Let's go to our style.css template file, or our style.css file. And I'm going to add some padding to the body tag right here, padding of 10 pixels and 50 pixels. So what this will do would be to add spacing of 10 pixels to the top and bottom, and then 50 pixels to the left and right. So let's save it. Let's go back in here and let's do a hard refresh. And now you can see we now have some padding at the top, left, right, and of course at the bottom as well. Now, if you refreshed and you didn't see any change, that means you have a caching issue. So please clear out your cache from both your web hosts if you're developing on a live site, and also your web browser's cache as well. Let's also open up header and footer.php. Let's remove the custom function we wrote, the add_greeting function. Let's remove that. Let's do the same to our header.php. Backspace, save. Go back in here, refresh, and awesome. Now we are good to go. So let's go ahead and create our custom page template, which would be used to output the contents of our blog post. Let's right click, create new file, and I am going to name this guy page-blog.php. Let's open it up, and of course we have to name this template file. So let's do that. Template name, and I'm going to call this custom blog asterisk. Let's close it. save. Let's go to the back end of our site. I'm going to create a new page, and I'll name that page content. Post content. Post content for the title. And the template, of course, will be custom blog. So let's publish. Let's view the page, and there you go. So obviously it's empty because we have no code in our custom blog template file, but we have successfully created our page template. So now we can begin to add some code. And let's go ahead and, of course, add, first of all, the header and footer. Get underscore header. And, of course, the footer. Every website needs a head and every website needs head and feet. Head and feet. All right, get footer. Save. Let's go back in here. Let's refresh the page. And there you go. We now have our header, and now we have our footer. And of course, we can now begin to add the contents for our WordPress posts. So I'm going to jump over to where we have the loop, and I'm going to copy this code right here, the WordPress loop code. I'm going to copy it. Let's copy that. Let's come in here right now, and in between the header and footer, I am going to paste the loop. Now remember that whenever you're dealing with loops, you have to close them. When you open up a loop, you have to close the loop as well. So we need to close the while function and also the if functions as well. So to do that, I'm open up a new PHP tag, PHP end while, semicolon, and then end if. So this is how you would close the WordPress loop. If you don't close your loop, you're basically going to crash your web page, because your page will constantly keep on looping. There will not be an end to it. So you're basically crashing your site and your page. All right, so we've now opened up the loop and we've closed the loop. So now we can begin to tell WordPress what content we want to display specifically. What I'm going to do would be to output, first of all, the contents of the title. So let's use the template tag PHP, the underscore title. So if this works, we should see the titles of all our 3 posts, right? Let's wrap it up in an H1 tag. H1, so we can make the titles really big. H1. Save. Now let's go back in here. Let's refresh the page. And all we have here is simply the title of our page. Where are the titles of our posts? Well, here's the thing. Never make the mistake of assuming that whenever WordPress sees this loop right here, this code for the loop, never think that WordPress thinks that, oh, this is for the WordPress posts. No. Because we have this loop inside of a custom page template, WordPress thinks that, oh, you simply want to display the title of this page and not our blog posts. If this was inside of our index.php or our single.php, WordPress would automatically recognize that, oh, you want to display the title of your blog posts. But because this is inside of a custom page template, WordPress doesn't think that way. Always remember that. Because this is inside of a custom page template, we need to tell WordPress that, hey, this loop right here is meant for our blog posts and not our page. So to do that, we need to create a custom WordPress loop. And we can do that using a very powerful function known as the WP underscore query function. This is a function with which you can customize how the WordPress loop works. You can tell WordPress to retrieve the contents of your pages, retrieve the contents of your posts. You can tell WordPress to retrieve contents of posts that belong to a very specific category, and so on and so forth. There is so much you can do using this very powerful function, all right? So what we're going to do right now would be to create our custom loop, telling WordPress that, hey, retrieve the contents of our WordPress posts. Now to do that, watch this. Just above, let me expand this. Just above our WordPress loop itself, I am going to create a variable called args. let's actually open up a PHP tag. Or better still, let's do this. I am simply going to remove this closing tag right here. Right, I'll just bring it down so we can still add PHP code inside, right? We don't have to open up new PHP tags. I'm going to create a new variable called args, and I'm going to say equals an array. Now, whenever you are customizing your WordPress loop, you can add several parameters inside of an array. So inside of that array, we can say, okay, we're retrieving contents for our posts. These are the amount of posts we want to display. We want pagination to be used, and so on and so forth. Don't worry, we'll explore this a lot more in the future. But what I'm going to do right now would be to open up the array. And then inside of this array, I am going to say that the post type that we want to call in this case is our WordPress posts. Okay, post. So right now we have created an array saying, hey, for this loop that's coming up, we want you to retrieve the contents of the post type known as post. Okay, so let's put a semicolon in here. And now I am going to say query, all right, query equals new WP underscore query. And then inside, I am going to pass the variable of args. Note that this is pretty much the standard way of creating custom WordPress queries. All right, don't worry, again, we're going to explore this a lot more in the future, but for now, just take this as it is. We have created a custom query specifically for our WordPress posts. So now inside here where we have the actual loop itself, we now have to equate this variable known as query to the have posts, if have posts, while have posts, and the post functions. So let me copy this, and right in here, I'm going to paste, and I'm going to equate that to have posts. The same in here as well. Let's put an arrow. And finally in here as well. Let's do the same. So right now, this custom query has basically taken the place of the post, have posts, and then have posts in here as well. That's what we are currently calling right now. So let's go ahead and save this. Let's go to post content, refresh the page. And now you can see we have our titles of our posts displaying, because again, we have created a custom query for our WordPress posts, and we are now calling the title of each post using the template tag. If this sounds confusing, again, do not worry. We're going to explore this a lot more in the future so you'll understand better. All right. So now that we have our title, we can also display the featured image. And to do that, we're going to use another template tag known as the underscore post underscore thumbnail. Semicolon. Save. Let's go back, refresh. And now we have our featured images. Let's go back in here. Let's add one more. And this one is going to be for the excerpt. The excerpt. Save, go back in here, refresh, and now we have the excerpt of each post showing. So congratulations, you have created your very first custom WordPress query. We used the args, we created an array, we passed in the parameter of post type and equated it to post, and of course we changed the custom WordPress loop right here so that the query, the new query we created, is being called. We used 3 different tags, the title, post thumbnail, and excerpt, to display the contents of our blog posts. So again, I understand that this might be a bit confusing, especially if you don't have any PHP experience. If you're having any trouble understanding what we've done right here, please reach out to me. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions. But for now, we have successfully created our very first custom WordPress query. Join me in the next class where we'll write a second custom WordPress query. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you then. Welcome back, and in the previous video we successfully created our very first custom WordPress query which resulted in this particular page. We were able to successfully display the title, featured image, and excerpts of our 3 different posts. Now, what we're going to do in this video is to further customize this custom query that we have over here. And what we have currently right now is just one parameter inside of our array. And the parameter here is simply specifying that we want to display content from our WordPress posts specifically, right? But we can add other parameters as well. We can add parameters for the categories, all right? So in this case right now, we can say, well, we only want to display content from posts that belong to this specific category. So let's try doing that. I am going to bring back Mr. Notepad++ over here. And what I'm going to do is to simply add a comma at the end over here. And I am going to add the second parameter here saying category underscore name. All right. And I am going to choose one of my categories. Remember, I have 3 different categories. I have movies, books, and I believe slides. So right now I am only going to display posts from the category of books. All right. I think it's actually, yeah, books. Let me make sure it's capital B. Let's go back in here. Let's go to the back end, post categories, and it is capital B. All right, books. All right. So let's see what's going to happen right now. I've said that I only want to display posts from the category of books. Let's save this. And then let's go back to our page. So we have post 1 now. And so that's it. We only have post 1 showing because post 1 is the only post that I have that belongs to the category of books. And if I go to the back end, go to categories, or rather go to posts, you can see that post 1 is the post that belongs to books. The other 2 belong to videos and slides. But because I have added the new parameter here saying only display posts from the category of books, we now only have post 1 showing up. So here's another example of how you can further customize how your WordPress query works. And there are other ways you can even take this customization a step further. You can also say that, well, display all posts from all categories with the exception of these particular category or categories. And you can do that by making use of the minus sign. Here is the example over here. So we can use the ID of the category that we want to leave out and then simply add a minus. So let's go back in here right now. Let's go to categories. Let's say we want to display posts from all categories with the exception of the books category. So let's get the ID for books, and you can see the ID is 2 down there below. The ID right here is 2. So I can come over here right now and say, well, category name, or rather, let's go back to our class reference. We are going to use cat in this case, okay? Not category name, but just cat. So let's go ahead now and say cat. And it's now going to be -2. All right. So we're saying display all posts from all categories except posts that belong to a category that has an ID of 2. So let's save this. Let's go back in here. Go to our post content. And there you go. So now we have post 3 and we have post 2, but we no longer have post 1 because post 1 belongs to the category of books which has an ID of 2. So this is just an example of how you can further customize how the WordPress query works. You can also specify other things like tags. You can display posts that have very specific tags, posts from specific authors, and so on and so forth. Later on in the course, we're going to take a look at taxonomy parameters where we can display posts or content from a specific taxonomy. We'll take a look at that a bit later. But for now, I just wanted to give you an example of how you can further customize your custom WordPress query using additional parameters. So feel free to experiment. You can add tags to some of your posts and then try displaying posts that match a specific tag and see how that works for you. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next class. One final custom query I wanted to show you before we move on is how you can write multiple loops inside of your page template file. And we can do so by making use of a function known as the WP_reset_post data. So right now, currently we do have one custom query which will display all posts from all categories except those from the category that has an ID of 2. Now we can decide to write another custom loop just below this one. However, before we can write additional custom loops, we need to reset our post. We need to reset our current loop, rather. We need to reset it back to its original state. And we can do that by making use of this function known as the WP_reset_post data. So let's see how this is going to work. Now, for purposes of this particular example, I have gone ahead to create 3 additional posts, and I've added each one of them to one category. So books now has 2 posts, videos has 2 posts, and slides has 2 posts as well. So I would encourage you to go ahead and do the same. Make sure they have a title, some dummy content, and a featured image and a category as well. All right. Let's do this. The first thing I'm going to do right now would be to write a custom loop that will display only posts from the books category. All right. So let's do that again. Let's come over here. Category right now. I'm going to change this to category_name. And that's going to be books. All right. Let's first of all save this. Now let's go to our page. And all right, so I have post 6 and post 1. These are the 2 posts that belong to the category of books, right? Now, what if I wanted to write a second custom query that would only display posts from the category of slides? Let's do that. I'm going to bring this guy back in here. And what I'm going to do is actually over here at the very top, all right, I am going to add a comment. And I'm going to say display posts from the books category. All right. Now, just at the very end of the actual loop itself, where we have the end if, I am going to bring out the function PHP WP_reset_post data. All right, there you go. So right now, this is the very first custom loop that we've written. So we can now go ahead and write a second one. So all I'm going to do right now will just be to copy this. All right, let's jump down over here and paste everything all over again. Let me open up my PHP tag right over there. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do right now will just be to change this to slides. Let's go with slides. Change from the books category right now, change that one to slides as well. And we are good to go. However, what I want to do will be to add some HTML. So let's do this. Just above the H1 title, what we have over here, let's change this to an H2 actually. Let's change that to an H2. H2. And now in H1, I am going to say books category. Let's close that, H1. And we'll do something very similar here as well. Let's make this an H2. Make this an H2. Let me just copy this entire line. Come back down here. And of course, we're going to say slides category. Slides category. Let's save. And now let's see what's going to happen. Refresh the page. And there you go. We have the books category with the first 2 posts. We have books category in here as well. And now down in here, we have the slides category, repeating slides category. And we can actually do this a lot better. Rather than having the category names constantly repeating for each post under that category, let's do this instead. All right. Let's remove the H1 from outside of the loop. So we can paste that just above the actual loop itself. So we have h1 right there. And we have the same thing in here as well. Let's remove that one and let's paste it over here. All right. So what we've done right now is to remove the HTML indicating the name of the category from our loop. So right now the names of the category should display only once. Let's save, go back in here again, refresh. So now we have books category, we have post 6 with the featured image, some text. Now we have post 1. Same thing with the slides category. It's showing only once right now because we've removed the HTML from our loop. So I just wanted to give you an example of what happens whenever you place any sort of content inside of a loop. It will constantly repeat that content for each post inside of that loop. Let's go ahead and write one last custom loop. So what I'm going to do right now will be to copy everything all over again. Let's copy that, paste that down here. And right now I am going to change slides here to custom category. All right, custom category. And I'm going to say display post from all categories. All right. Now I'm going to remove what we have over here, category name of slides. I'm going to remove that. Let's open up a new line. And what I'm going to say right here would be posts per page. This is another parameter, posts per underscore page. And I am going to say just 3. All right, let's go with 3. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we are displaying posts from all categories. However, we're only going to display 3 of them. All right, so let's save this again. And now let's refresh the page. And now let's go all the way down here where we have our custom category. So we now have post 6, we have post 5, and now we have post 4. Each one of these guys are from the 3 different categories. So this is just an example of how you can rewrite custom loops over and over again. You just have to make sure that you employ the use of the WP underscore reset underscore post data function. So this can be very useful if you're trying to develop a theme that is designed in such a way that maybe on the home page you display the first 5 posts from a specific category, and then in the next section you display the next 5 posts from another category, and so on and so forth. So it is a very useful function to be aware of. Thank you so much for watching. As usual, if you have any questions about this, you're not sure what's exactly happening, again, you have to ask. Okay, ask questions. I'll be more than happy to answer them. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next class. All right, so the next thing we're going to try and do here would be to create a hyperlink from the titles of our posts. So right now, if anyone tries to click on post 6 as an example, nothing's going to happen. If they tried to click on, say, post 1, nothing will happen again. So ideally, whenever anyone clicks on the title of our post, it should take them to the individual page for that particular post. And even right now, with the excerpt over here, all we have are 3 buttons and you can't even click on them. So we need to create links associated with each one of our posts so that whenever anyone clicks on those links, it will take them to the individual page for that particular post. What we're going to do in this particular video would be to create hyperlinks from the titles of our posts. And I'm going to make use of a function which is the permalink. And according to the codex, it says it displays the URL for the permalink to the post currently being processed in the loop. So what I'm going to do is very simply, I'm going to scroll all the way down here. I am going to grab this code under use as link with title tag. So this is the code you can use to create a hyperlink from the title of your post. So I'm going to go ahead right now and I'm going to grab this. Let's copy that. And I'm going to jump to my Notepad++. Let me just make sure that the connection is still working. So sometimes I do have issues with my Notepad++. Sometimes it will lose connection to my database. But anyway, what I'm going to do here is I am going to overwrite this code right here where we have the PHP, the title, I'm going to leave the h2 tags as they are. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and overwrite the title and then paste the new code that we have written. So let me just create some space over here so you can see what's really happening. All right, so we have that. I'm going to go ahead right now and save this. Hopefully the connection has been restored. And good, it looks like it's uploaded. Awesome. Let's go back to my page, refresh, and voila. Now, if I click on post 6, guess what? It's going to take me now to the individual page for post 6 where you can read the full contents of the article. So we have successfully created hyperlinks from the titles of our posts. Now, how did we do this? The first thing I want you to understand is that over here from post 6, 3 things are happening right here. First of all, post 6, which is the title of our post, is being displayed. That's one. Number 2 is the fact that post 6 is now a link. And then number 3 is the fact that when you click on post 6, when you click on the link, it will take you to the individual page of that post. So 3 things are happening in here. And I'm going to explain to you how those 3 things are working in here. First of all, we have the title. This is what displays post 6. This is what displays the title of the post. And then the ahref tag over here is what creates the link for that post. And then finally, the permalink, which is embedded inside of our a tag, is what actually makes that link go to the individual page of that post when it is clicked on. All right. Now, this final piece of code right here, the title attribute, you can ignore this. You don't even need to add this in your piece of code. It will still work regardless. So that's how to create a permalink from the titles of your posts. And what I want you to do is to go ahead and simply do the same for the post under the slides category, and finally the post under the custom category. So all you have to do is just go back to your file and then just copy and paste the same code, just overwrite PHP the title under the slides category, and then do the same for the custom category as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching the video. Join me in the next class where I'll show you how to customize the excerpt. In the previous video, we successfully created a hyperlink from the titles of our posts. But now we want to do the same for the read more link. And in fact, we don't even have a link yet. Right now, if anyone clicks on the 3 dots over here, nothing happens. So we want to change this. We want to make sure that we have a read more link over here, that whenever anyone clicks on that link, it will take them to the individual post for that article. So to do this, I'm going to jump over to my functions.php. Let's scroll all the way down here. And oh, look, it's the very first custom function we wrote back a few videos ago. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to override all of this. We don't need this anymore. And I'm going to paste some piece of code in here, which I'll show you in just a second what this means. Let me go ahead and save this. That's saved. Awesome. Let me go back to my page, refresh. And there you go. Now I have the read more link. And if I click on it, it's going to take me to the individual page for that post. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So what's happening in here? Let me explain. Now we have our function, first of all, called taskco underscore custom underscore except underscore more. That is the name of our function. And then inside we have the variable more. Now global post in here, what this simply means is apply this function to every single post that we have on our website. That's one way of saying this. And then return, what this is simply doing is it's now displaying whatever we have in here. So now we've displayed the more link. We have a class, which is more link. And then we've displayed the permalink, all right? The permalink associated with the post. And then read more in here is the text that would actually be displayed whenever anyone tries to click on the link. So that's what's happening in here. And then finally, we have the add filter function. Filters are basically functions used to register other kinds of functions in WordPress. That's one way of describing this. So you can modify read more to, say, for example, learn more or whatever. You can change the text in here to whatever you want to display. So that's exactly what's happening in here. Now, the next thing I want to do, or actually before I do that, let me just show you one slight problem. There is no space between the last word of the Excerpt and then the read more link, as you can see. Same thing in here as well, as you can see. So one very simple way to fix this, you could do this with CSS, but a very simple way to fix this would be to go back to our function, and then where you have return, after the very first quote, just simply add a space, save this, and there you go. So it's now saved. So let me go back in here. Let's see what we have. Let me refresh the page. And there you go. Now we have a space between the last word and our read more link. One final function I want to show you is one that will dictate how many words are actually displayed in our Excerpt. To do this, I'm going to grab this piece of code right here. Let me just quickly grab this piece of code, go back to my notepad, and I'm going to go ahead and paste this right here. So this is a very, very straightforward function. It's called the tasko underscore custom underscore except underscore length. Inside we have the length variable, and it says return 45. So all this is saying is for the Excerpt, return 45 words. That's how many words we want to display. So if you wanted 100 words, just change 45 to 100. Let's go ahead and save this. Now let's go back to our page. I'm going to go ahead and refresh this page. And voila, now you can see the number has reduced from, I believe it was 60 words, to now 45. So in this video, we have successfully made 2 changes to our Excerpt. We've created the read more link, and we've also ensured that only 45 words are displayed from our Excerpt. You will find these pieces of code in the resources file, so please check there if you want to use the exact same code I have written in here. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next class. Forgive me for interrupting your learning experience, but I really wanted to talk to you about another course that you might find very useful, which is the complete WordPress theme development course. Now, if you've been enjoying this mini tutorial thus far and you want to learn more, I would highly encourage you to take a look at this particular course, because in this course you will learn everything there is to know about WordPress development. So I will provide the links for you in the description box below, but I have this course available for you on 3 different platforms. On my own personal platform, the WebMonkey Academy. It's also available on Udemy if you are a Udemy student, and it's also going to be available on Skillshare. Now, if you'd like to take this particular course on any one of these platforms, I'll have the links available for you in the description box below. But I also want to encourage you to check out webmonkeyacademy.com. It is my own personal online training platform for WordPress. You can stop by, grab your free WordPress SEO course, which is basically a full course teaching you how to configure and work with the Yoast SEO plugin. So if you're interested in learning more about WordPress development, be sure to check out the course. I'll put the links in the description box below. And now let's get back to the mini course. All right, so the next challenge here would be to tackle the image sizes that we have for our posts. And you can see that for post 6 we have this incredibly large image, and then for post 1 we have something smaller, and then post 4 has something even smaller. Post 3 seems to have the same size as post 4, and then post 6 has something incredibly large, as you can see. So what we want to do here is to create a particular custom image size that will be applied to every single image on our page templates. Now to do this, we're going to make use of a function called the add image size. One thing to keep in mind is that whenever you upload a new image to your media library, WordPress by default will create 3 additional sizes. So if I come down here to settings, go to media, over here we have the thumbnail size, we have the medium size, and then we have the large size. These are the 3 default sizes that WordPress will create for every single image that you upload to your media library. So what we want to do here will be to create a different custom image size. So we're going to make use of this function add image size. And for the parameters, you can see that we have a string, which would be the name of that image size. And then we'll have to detect the width and the height of the image size, and then finally we can dictate whether we want to crop that image or not. So over here, let me scroll all the way down here. You can see some examples. Oh, by the way, we have reserved image size names. So when you're naming your custom image size, you can't use words like thumb, thumbnail, medium, large, or post thumbnail. These are reserved for WordPress. So if you're going to create your own custom image size name, make sure you don't have these words in it. But over here right now, we have an example. So you can see right now we have one that says add image size. Custom size is the name of the image size. And then we have 220 for the width, 180 for the height. And then that's all. So this is going to be a soft crop. The next one here, we have true. True here simply means that you want to hard crop that image. So usually when you're cropping an image, that means you're going to cut off part of the image. But if you're not cropping it, then you're simply going to scale the image down to the width and height that you have indicated. So it's important to understand the difference between cropping and not cropping of an image. So what I'm going to do here very simply, let's just go ahead and copy this. I'm just copy what we have over here. Let's copy this. Go to our notepad and let me reestablish my connection to my server. All right, what I'm going to do is down here, I'm just going to paste that and let me add some text to indicate what this is. This is going to be the custom image size. All right, and then for the image itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to, let's say, post size. Post size would be the name. And then from 220, let's make this, let's go with 450. And then for the height, let's make that 300, just as an example. Okay, and we'll leave it as it is. Let me save this. Okay, that's saved. Now, it's one thing to create the new image size. It's another to actually use this image size. So to use this, we'll have to go to our page blog. And then when we have the post thumbnail in here, inside this quotes, inside this brackets, that's where we're going to add the name of the custom image size. So I'm going to go ahead and say post size. So essentially what we're telling WordPress here is that whenever you display the post thumbnail, make sure you display it using the post size, the parameters that we've indicated in the new post size custom image size that we've just created. So I'm going to do the same for the other categories as well. Post thumbnail. Let's add our quotes in here, and then we have post size. Let's go back up here as well, where we have the post thumbnail. Let's add post dash size. All right, let's go ahead and save this, and let's see what will happen. So we've saved that. Let's now go to our page, my blog, go to our custom page or our post content. Let's refresh and well, there you go. Right now you can see that every single image has now changed to the size that we have just created. That's exactly what we have done. So that's how to create a custom image size for your images, for your featured post thumbnails. So thank you so much for watching the video. I will see you in the next class. Okay, so in the previous video, we successfully added our image size and we cropped down all the featured posts for our images. However, there is a bit of an issue, and it might be difficult to notice this, but all the images don't have the exact same height. They have the same width, but they don't have the same height. Now, if you inspect the very first image here, for example, you will see it's 450 by 300. However, the second image here is 450 by 270. If you scroll all the way down, the next one is 450 by 281. Next one is 450 by 300. Next one is 450 by 275. So not all the images have the exact same heights. They all have the same width, which is good, but they don't have the same height. Now, these can be a problem further down the road when you begin to apply CSS in a situation where you want your posts to appear side by side. So maybe you have two posts on one line and then the next line you have another two posts, stuff like that. That can be a bit of an issue. And this is why sometimes it is better for you to hard crop your images. What we did in the previous video was a soft crop because all we did was to add 450 by 300 and that's it. When you do this, WordPress will automatically decide the size of the featured image based on the parameters you provided. However, when you add a hard crop, you are telling WordPress that, look, I don't care how you do this. Make sure you display the image 450 in width, 300 pixels in height. And to do that, what we're going to do is to jump over here and you can see the examples, all right? So if you say true, this is going to hard crop the image using 220 for the width, 180 for the height. But you can also determine how you want WordPress to crop that image by adding an array and then saying left top. So in this case right now, in this example right now, WordPress will crop your image from the left and from the top. But what we're going to do is to simply say true, meaning we want WordPress to crop the image to the exact size of 450 by 300. So let's do that. Let's add a comma. Let's make this true. Let's save this. And it's saved. All right, so now let's go back to our page. Let's refresh the page. And all right, so let's take a closer inspection of what we have. Now, the first one is still 450 by 300. The next one is still 450 by 270, 450 by 281, 450 by 300. So you can see right now that the change hasn't actually occurred. Even though we've come in here, we've said, look, make this true. We want every single image now to be 450 by 300. WordPress has refused to do that. What's happening here is that WordPress cannot automatically implement changes to our custom image size just like that. All right, it cannot do that. What we have to do is to do something called regeneration of thumbnails. So basically, regeneration means we're telling WordPress that, look, we have made a change to our custom image size. We now want you to hard crop the images to 450 by 300. By regeneration, we're telling WordPress to create a new version of every image that will be specifically be 450 by 300. So that's what is called regeneration. And we're going to make use of a plugin to do this. So join my next video where I'll show you how to make use of this plugin. So in the previous video, I talked about our need to regenerate thumbnails, and we're going to make use of this plugin, which is Regenerate Thumbnails by Alex Mills, aka Viper 007 Bond. He must be a James Bond fan, but you can see right now the description says this is useful for situations such as a new thumbnail size has been added and you want past uploads to have a thumbnail in that size. You've changed the dimensions of an existing thumbnail size, for example, via Settings Media, or you've switched to a new WordPress theme that uses featured images of a different size. So these are the scenarios where this plugin would be useful. And now one particular scenario would be, well, it can fall into both scenarios 1 and 2, these two ones right here. So I have already installed and I've activated the plugin. Please go ahead and do the same if you're having the same issue. So here it is right here, Regenerate Thumbnails. Now to work with the plugin, I'm going to go to Tools. I'm going to click on Regenerate Thumbnails. And just like that, I'm going to go ahead right now and just say Regenerate Thumbnails for all 6 attachments. Let's do that. Regenerate. Okay, all done in 6 seconds. Okay, fingers crossed. Let's go back to our page. Let's do a hard refresh. And okay, it looks like it's already working. Good. Let's take a closer inspection. Inspect. And there you have it. The first image is 450 by 300. Second is 450 by 300. Third is 450 by 300. Fourth is 450 by 300. Fifth is 450 by 300. And sixth is 450 by 300, as you can see. Awesome. So that is exactly how to ensure that every single featured image you have on your WordPress website is of a specific size. If at the very first time we had done this true cropping, we might not have needed to use the regenerate thumbnails. But because we added our new custom image size, and then we came back to say, look, we don't want the cropping to be false, we want it to be true, we had to tell WordPress to create new versions of that thumbnail, and that's why we had to make use of the Regenerate Thumbnails plugin. So that's it. Thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next class. I want us to do something very, very quickly, which would be to have one single loop on our custom page template. Right now we have 3 separate loops. The very first loop displaying post from the books category, the second one displaying from the slides category, and then the final one displaying 3 different posts from different categories. So the next few videos we'll be working with template tags, and we'll be doing some CSS as well. So it's going to be a lot easier for us to work with one single loop rather than working with 3 different loops. So what I'm going to do is I will stick with the very last loop we have over here, which displays posts from all categories. So what I'm going to do very simply right here would be to remove all the code above it. Let's go all the way to the top and stop just where we have PHP get the header. Let's delete all that. I'm going to go ahead and remove this next PHP tag right here. Let's remove that. And then finally, I'm going to go ahead and remove the post data in here as well. We don't need that anymore. Let's remove all this empty space. And let's go ahead and also remove the custom category, the H1 in here. We don't need this. Let's remove that. Let's change 3 to 6 so we can display 6 different posts. Let's go ahead and save this. Okay, and then from here, I'm going to go back to our page. Let's refresh it, make sure everything is still displaying. All right, cool. So it looks like everything is as it should. Post 4, post 3, post 2, post 1. We click on post 5. It takes us to the individual page. Awesome. All right, so we have successfully reduced the number of loops from 3 all the way down to 1. So join me in the next class where we will now begin to insert template tags into our page template. Thank you for watching. All right, so let's go ahead now and begin to insert some template tags into our post template. And I mentioned earlier in the course that template tags are primarily used to display information. So you could use tags to display the author of a post, the date the post was published, the category, display the tags, things like that. So what we're going to do right now would be to display 3 different kinds of information for each post. We'll display the author of the post, we'll display the category of the post, and then finally we'll display the date the post was published. So what we're going to do is we're going to make use of the following tags. Let me scroll all the way down here. And I'm going to show you the tags we're going to use. We're going to use the author tag right here to display the author of this tag. We're going to also use the category tag to display the category of the post. And then finally, the date. I don't think we have that over here. I don't see it. Anyway, I think, okay, oh, here it is, here it is. Here it is, the underscore date. It's right here. So those are the 3 tags we're going to use to display different kinds of information for our post. So let's go to our template. And first things first, just after the thumbnail, let's go ahead and create some space. We're going to display the very first tag, which is going to be PHP the underscore author. All right. So let's see how this would actually look like. I'm just go ahead and close this tag. Let's save this. All right, now let's go back to the post. Let's refresh the page. And voila, you can see it's right here. It's starter is the person who wrote this article. This is starter as well, starter. But this looks really, really bad, right? So let's make some changes to the template. The very first I'm going to do would be to make sure this is in H3 so that this is going to be on its own separate line, H3. And then we can also do something like this. We can say written by, and then we can also encapsulate this with the EM tags to make it in italics. Let me go ahead and close that here as well. All right, let's see how this is going to look like. Let's save this. Okay, let's go back in here and let's see what we've done. Okay, now this looks a lot better. Written by is on its own separate line right now. Written by starter, and so on. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and insert the very next tag, which in this case would be the date. So I'm just going to make sure it's in H3 as well. So we have PHP the underscore date. And then let's close the h3 tag. And let's just go ahead and also display the category as well. Let's just do that. So I'll say h3 once again. And then I'll say category dash. Let's open up our PHP tag. And then the tag itself, which is going to be the underscore category. Bracket, semicolon. Let's close the tag. Let's close the h3 tag as well. Okie dokie, let's save this. Okay, let's now go back to our post once again. Let's refresh the page and let's see what we have. Okay, so there you go. Written by Starter, August 12, 2018. This is the category. Now, this is something that's a little bit annoying sometimes. You will notice that the category all have bullets. They have the li tag, the HTML li tag, and if you inspect this on your browser, you will see that it's in an a tag. We have the li, and it's making it go to a second line. So sometimes several kinds of themes will add their own custom CSS to certain kinds of elements, like your category, your list items. So this is very, very annoying, and we'll have to use CSS to fix this. We'll do that later. But for now, we have successfully added 3 different template tags to display the author of the post, the date the post was published, and then finally the category which the post belongs to. So there you have it. Thank you so much for watching the video, and join me in the next class where we'll begin to work with CSS. Okie dokie. What we're going to do in the next few videos would be to work with CSS to make this page look a little bit better than it is currently, because right now it looks, well, it doesn't look all that presentable, all right? So what we're going to do in this particular video would be to lay the groundwork for some future CSS. And what I mean by this is we're going to add some HTML tags inside of our template, and we're going to use those tags, those HTML tags, to design the page. So the very first thing I'm going to do right here would be to add over here at the very, very top, I'm going to add a div, give it an ID, and I'm going to name this the custom posts page. All right. And then what I'm going to do would be to add this as a tab. And then I'm going to close the div down here. That's the very first thing I'm going to do. So right now we can use this ID, this HTML ID, to specifically target this page by using the ID custom posts page. Now the next thing I'm going to do would be to add another div after the loop itself. And I'm going to name this div class equals to custom dash post. All right. Let's also make all this into it. Let's turn all of this into a tab. Let's tab that, make this look neat and presentable. Let's close this div as well. All right. So right now we can begin to target every single individual post by simply using the class custom post. Now in here, what I'm going to do would be to add some classes to the tags. So they're written by, let's give this a class of post-author. All right, and then the date, we can also give that one a class of post-date. And then finally, last but not least, h3 class equals post dash, oh, not underscore, but dash category. Okay, I think we're pretty much done. Let's add a class for the title as well, just in case. h2 class equals the post title. Okay, so what we have successfully done here is to lay the groundwork for some future CSS. We've added our ID so we can specifically target this page. We've added the class of custom post so we can target each individual post. And then for the tags, the title, the author, the date, and category, we've added separate classes for them so we can target each one of these individual tags. The post thumbnail, we're just going to leave that as it is for now. If in the future we need to customize it, then we can add a class. But for now, I think we're pretty much set. So join me in the next class where I'll begin to work with some CSS. And I'm just go ahead and save this before I forget. And voila. Okay, so that's saved. So I will see you in the next class. Alrighty, welcome to what is technically a brand new section where we're going to work with some CSS to make our content look a little bit more presentable. And what I want to do in this video is to create a layout where we're going to have basically a sort of a 2x3 setup where we're going to have 3 rows. And then we'll have 2 columns. So in the very first row, we'll have 2 posts. The next row will have 2 posts. And then the final row will have the last 2 posts. So to do this, let's go ahead and inspect my element. And I'm going to jump to the very top, the main div, which is, let me just do this again, inspect element. Okay, here we are. Div ID, custom posts page. So let's go ahead and add some code in here. So first I'm going to do is to give a set width of 1150 pixels, and then I will give a margin of 0 and then auto so as to try and center the text. Okay, looks already a little bit better. Good. Next, we now be to target the post classes themselves. So I'm going to come over here where we have the custom post class. And what I'm going to do is to simply say our width will be 49%. And then to display, let's go and say inline block. There you go. All right, so we've achieved the 2x3 setup as you can see right now. However, we do have a bit of an issue because the very second post is a little higher than the first one. So that's kind of like disturb the alignment. But don't worry, this will be fixed as we progress. The next thing I want to do is to create some space at the bottom right here. You can see that our text is a bit too close to the footer. So let's add some padding to the main div itself. So let's go back to, where would you have it? The custom posts page. And then in here, I'm going to say padding and then bottom. And let's go with 40 pixels. 40 pixels. Okay, this looks already a lot better. Nice. And then finally, let's change the font family and the font style for our paragraph tags inside of our post class. So let's do this. Custom post class, custom dash post, and then we're going to target the p tags inside of them. So we're going to say font family. Font family is going to be Montserrat. I have decided to go with Montserrat because I like Montserrat. And then the font weight, we're going to give it a weight of 300, make it a little bit lighter. And there you have it. Okay. And as you can see right now, the alignment has been fixed as a result of the fact that we've changed the font family and the font weight of our text. It's funny how the simplest of changes to your CSS can make such huge differences. All right, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead now and go to my style. .css file. This is where we're going to be making the changes. Oops, let me just try to save that again. Establish connection to my web server. Okay, so connection has been established. Now in here on line 617, just above where we have the add media screen and main width of 37.5 em, this is for the responsive design. So at the very end in here, I'm just going to add some text and say, oh no, this is incorrect. Let's start from the end here. Let's say custom CSS. Let's close our comments. All right, I'm going to go ahead now and paste what I have. So let's make sure that is correct. Custom post P, Montserrat 300 for the 9%. And this looks good. Let's save this. And now let's go back to Firefox. Let's refresh the page and make sure that the changes have taken effect. And there you go, the changes have taken effect. Now, make sure that you have all sorts of caching disabled, all right? One of the biggest problems with working with CSS is that if you have a web browser or if your web server is caching any of your data, you will have difficulty seeing your changes take effect. So make sure if you have any caching plugins, make sure you disable them. If you have any sort of caching system from your web hosts, make sure it's disabled, and also make sure to clear your caches, your web browsers are cache as well if you want to see your changes take effect immediately. All right, so that's it for the very first class here with CSS. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next one. All right, so welcome to part 2, where we're going to target our H2 tags as well as the H3 tags underneath the featured image, and then finally our lists under the categories. So without wasting time, let's jump straight to our H2 tag right here, which is the post title. So I'm going to go ahead and let's change the font family here. Font family, we're going to go with Tahoma. Tahoma, just to differentiate it from Montserrat. And then for the font weight, let's go with 500. I have 500 here. Okay, that looks better already. Next up, let's target the H3 tags underneath the featured image. So we have H3, the post author, H3 post date, and then H3, the post category. So let's go ahead and target every one of them. And to do this, I'm going to say, let's go with dot custom post, custom dash post, and then H3. Let me remove the .post category class. We don't need that. Okay, so custom post H3. For the font family, we're going to go with Montserrat as well. Let's go with Montserrat. And the font weight, we're going to make this a little bit darker than 300. So we're going to go with 400. Okay, and let me just check my notepad to make sure I have everything. All right, so margin, yeah, we're going to reduce the margin as well. There's a bit too much margin in between them. So let's go ahead and remove and set our margins to 0 so we have less space in between them. Okay, that's better. All right, so we have that for our custom post H3. And now finally, let us get our categories on the same line. We don't like this list style. So to do this, we're going to go to our post categories. And so first things first, we're going to say display. We're going to make that an inline block. Okay, that's an inline block. And then there's lots of margins and patterns as well. So let's remove any sort of margin that we have. Margin will be set to 0. And then we still have some padding. As you can see, there's some padding right there to the left. So I'm going to say padding left, set that to 0. Okay, that's good. But finally, we need to remove this button, which I really don't like. So let's just go to the li button, li element rather. The li element, we're going to say, what do we have there? We have the dot post categories. And then I'm going to say li, and then it's going to be list style is set to none. And well, there you go. Okay. Let me go ahead now and paste all of this in here. Let's save that. All right, let's come back to our page, refresh the page, and there you go. Okie dokie. Now I know this isn't the greatest of designs, but this still looks a lot better than what we had initially. Initially, it looked really, really bad, but this is a bit more presentable. And feel free to play around with your CSS. If you want to center your text, you can do that. If you want to add some animation, go ahead and freestyle. Do whatever you want to do with your CSS. So that's it. We've pretty much come to the end of this course. We've been able to learn about WordPress looping. We've written some WordPress functions, we've worked with template tags, we've created our own custom image sizes, and then we've also worked with some CSS to create this particular page all from scratch. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next class. Well, there you have it. We've come to the end of this mini course, and I really hope you found it useful. I hope you've learned some really cool WordPress development skills, and if you do like the video, please give it a like. Share the video with your friends whom you feel might benefit for it. Subscribe, hit the bell so that you're notified whenever I upload a new tutorial here on YouTube. You can also follow me on Facebook. I do have a Facebook page where I post updates. And well, thank you so much. And if you have any questions, as always, feel free to put them down in the comments section below. I will do my best to answer them as soon as I can. My name is Alex. It's been a pleasure teaching you WordPress development, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.